79. That was the bare minimum number we had agreed upon. 79 suspicious claims that make sense in all three major newspapers in this godforsaken city. We know we may have missed the first claims. We are aware that at least a good chunk of them are fabrications, outright lies from bored people. At this point, I think we can agree that the exact number is not really all that important. Law enforcement is, I'm afraid, correct. There are more. O'Malley is just the first failure. Now, for all of you living under a rock in Neptune, I guess O'Malley is news for a good reason. Now, law enforcement isn't really sure, at least not now, of how it did happen. At first, it was just another missing persons report. How many of those do you think we get in a city that's so overpopulated like this? Well, I don't know either, but it has to be a lot, considering how many millions of little humans have chosen to call this damn place home. And how many have found no way to escape its gravitational pull. It has its charm, I'll give you that. Paris, New York, Sao Paulo, Cadiz, Buenos Aires, the cities that never sleep bring with them opportunities that are non-existent in other places. O'Malley was just another anonymous guy lost in the crowd one day, and lost from the crowd the other. Most people's whereabouts are found one way or another, and a good chunk are found unscathed. The system works, more or less. I say more or less because once in a while you'll run into someone who doesn't want to be found, or can't be found, as it was his case, for about 10 minutes at least. The last thing he could report was eating a burger in his trunk, and then nothing. Next thing he knows, he's in the dark, barely able to move 1 inch, with something in front of him that would later realize was a wood cover of some kind, and a phone duct taped to his hand. It's hard to imagine, I know, but try to put yourself in his place just for a little bit. You touch the object with the tips of your fingertips until you realize the thing is a phone. You touch the buttons and take a look at the screen. No contact list, no apps, no internet. 3% on the battery. You use the light of the display to try to see where you are and soon realize it's the interior of a coffin. The pine lid above, you may think, 6 feet below ground. 3.5 in a reality. But you can't know that. A normal person would panic. Some may control themselves and try to make a call. 911, what's your emergency? I'm buried alive and don't know where. Yeah, sure. Some others may remember a number. Who does these days? Very few, I bet. O'Malley, well, he's of a different breed, I guess. No panic. No use for the phone. Just pure rage. I can even imagine him yelling at the top of his lungs, not to be heard, but out of pure frustration and hatred. The human body has more than 200 bones, a group of major organs, tens and thousands of blood vessels, muscles, and that's it. Its potential is restrained by the brain in order to avoid damage. Sometimes such restraints fade. I'm sure you've heard such cases of mothers high on adrenaline lifting an 18-wheeler to save their children's lives. We believe that's what happened to O'Malley, and what allowed him to bench press the coffin's lid through hundreds of pounds of loose dirt. Dirt that fell on his face as it filled the damn wooden box. It took 3 more hours for him to reach the highway, and 3 days for law enforcement to find the actual place where he was buried inside the woods. He couldn't really help that much. Poor guy was in shock, and few people believed him. Sorry about that, O'Malley. Whatever it's worth, we do believe you now. Law enforcement examined everything and found next to nothing. No fingerprints, no witnesses. The coffin was homemade. The phone was a burner. After that, the calls came in, to both the major newspapers and police. People reported distressed calls from unknown numbers, by people who swore they'd been buried alive. Nobody took it seriously, except some guy who did call 911. And that was it. So far, we've counted 79 of such calls that make sense. I wonder how many are real. For another story, tune in next Tuesday. Meanwhile, watch another video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check the description for our social media. And sleep well.
If you can.